Hey guys, Paul here. So today's video is a little bit different than what I would usually make on this channel. This one is for the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players, the people who are doing the regional grind, the YCS grind, trying to win and get invites, tops, wins at these sorts of events, even competitive Master Duel players. I have a PSA for all of you that I think could be extremely useful and helpful for you in your Yu-Gi-Oh career, and that is creating a personal brand for yourself as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. So if you know of any competitive players in your circle and you want to share this with them, I think this would be really helpful. If you're a casual player, feel free to stick around, hang on for the ride. I don't really mind you being here, but yeah, without further ado, I want to talk about what it means to have a personal brand with the game, what the potential benefits are, and some tips for how you could get started doing it yourself. Okay, so why are we talking about all of this in the first place? Well, it's because Yu-Gi-Oh is a hard game. It's pretty hard to get into and learn. It's even more difficult to master, and then even more difficult to actually perform and get results at events. I think anybody who has been through the regional circuit, the YCS circuit, knows this. There's a reason why our community puts so much store in players that get these tops and these wins at premier events. So anybody that is able to, go to these events and put in the effort of not only like play testing and learning the format and theory crafting, but also just, performing on the day of, should be commended. I think that you should celebrate that success. Similarly, Yu-Gi-Oh is a costly game to play. Both the money needed to afford cards, but also just the cost of travel, right? Taking a flight, getting a hotel, buying food and all that stuff for the weekend. It's not always easy, and that's all on top of just the general time commitment that it takes to do all of this stuff. So, because I feel like it basically is a full-time job, that's why I would say it's worth your while to try to create a bit of a personal brand for yourself around the game as well. Okay, so what exactly do I mean by creating a personal brand as a Yu-Gi-Oh player? You might hear that and think that I'm suggesting that people need to drop everything and become a full-time YouTuber or a social media influencer or something like that. And I don't actually think that that's true. More so, what I'm focusing on is making yourself easily identifiable and recognizable as a player and documenting and celebrating your success within the game. And there's some really big potential benefits to doing this. The first and largest one is the ability to get noticed by potential sponsors. There are competitive teams in Yu-Gi-Oh that are oftentimes looking to sponsor players, and so being visible and having your success sort of broadcast a bit is one great way to get noticed. But also, there are companies that make Yu-Gi-Oh accessories and are always looking for more players to use them and showcase them. All those companies that make custom play mats, custom deck boxes, custom sleeves, those all come to mind. I've seen players who are sponsored by brands like Dueling Guard or Imperium Duelist or Gym Accessories. So yeah, if you've ever been sort of interested in that kind of thing, there's potential there. And also, there are other card games that are oftentimes looking for existing successful card game players to perhaps try out their game and give it shout outs and maybe get accolades or opportunities from that. So the Gundam card game just released. They're about to release the League of Legends card game. It feels like the card game space has been constantly heating up over the last couple of years, and they might want somebody who is a recognized Yu-Gi-Oh player to try out their new game. They might invite you out to something or send you early products. There's also just kind of nice grassroots benefits. Like when you go to Yu-Gi-Oh events, Konami's far more likely to pick recognizable players that stand out for feature matches, especially on the stream. And you also can just develop a bit of a fan base for yourself if you're into that sort of thing. That's not really for everybody, but it's cool to have people who root for you and want to follow your success and hear about how you're doing. I've actually had the opportunity to speak to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players on different occasions, and I find that I'm always very impressed by just like what they have to say about the game. There's so many cool insights and opinions about just the way that they sort of mentally approach deck building or gameplay or execution, and the decision making that goes into like deck choices and event prep. I'm always fascinated by it because, I have not won a YCS or topped a YCS or like even won a regional ever in my life. So hearing from the people who are out there doing it is really cool. And I think that it's a bit tragic then that oftentimes those opinions and those theories go largely unheard. And to be fair, some people they don't mind it being that way. It's maybe just for their personal, private, like playtesting group. But I do think that there are players who could benefit a lot from those nuggets of wisdom. And so putting that stuff out there on social media or potentially on YouTube or something, it could be a benefit to the aspiring duelists at home. So what exactly are the different things that you can kind of create a personal brand for yourself around in Yu-Gi-Oh! The obvious one is just being a skilled player with good results. If you've managed to top or even win some YCS events or nationals or even gone to worlds, but also you can just be known for being a player who gets strong results with unorthodox or uncommon strategies. I know a lot of people love the idea of somebody kind of taking an underdog strategy. Like, I remember one year the Ancient Gear player that ended up like doing really well at YCS. People like that sort of thing. There was a player I saw who got like first place at a regional with a Volcanic FTK deck last year, and that was really neat because it was like in Snake Eye format, so that was totally unexpected. People really get behind these rogue strategies, and so that can be a really great opportunity to kind of create a bit of a brand around it and capitalize on that attention. It's also perfectly fine to just sort of be a positive, passionate face, right? Like, even if you're not actually winning every YCS event, if you're the sort of person who just makes your presence at the events known and you have a good personality, then that can go a really long way too. It's not actually about necessarily being the very best, but just marketing yourself as like a Yu-Gi-Oh player who cares and like does this. So the first place that we got to start with this is having a social media presence. And disclaimer, I'm not trying to turn everybody into a full-time YouTube creator or like a social media influencer. That's not really my goal here. I'm more so just saying that it is good to have your name out there and be a little bit in the conversation, in the zeitgeist. Twitter is probably the #1 place you'd want to be because that's where so much Yu-Gi-Oh discourse happens. There's players there are content creators there are brands there, and other card game ambassadors are also there. So I would say you should start by just having a Twitter profile. It can be your name. You don't have to have anything crazy and creative. I think that having a good profile picture is really key, particularly if you have already been featured in a YCS feature match on stream or even part of the written coverage. You can take a screenshot or take one of the pictures that Konami shares and use that as your profile picture on Twitter. That's a really good place to start. If you don't have one of those though, that's fine. All you gotta do is at the next YCS that you're at, go up to one of the bajillion different media walls they have up there where it's just, the little background, you can take a picture in front of that. Boom, that's a profile picture. It immediately lets people know that you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, or even this is something that you can do at your local card shop. Just have a friend take a candid picture of you and use that. Next thing is your Twitter bio. I think it's really important to put your most proud, accomplished event results here. If that's that you're like a 5-time YTS winner, perfect, include that in your bio. But don't feel bad if you haven't actually won or topped a YCS, because even, like I said, just topping or winning at regionals is still a big deal. You can still put that stuff in your bio as well. Another cool thing you can do on Twitter is letting people know what the next event that you're going to be at is. Whether that's a big YCS or Worlds or even just the next regional that you'll be playing in, it's still good to let people know that you are active, you are playing, and this is the next place where they can see you and follow your results. You might be surprised because if you're developing a fan base, there might be people who want to meet you. And also, if there are potential like brand ambassadors who are there trying to scout people out, they might actually find themselves at that event as well. And just generally showing that you're active is a good thing. Okay, now what would you actually post on social media? Well, I first of all want to say, I don't think that you have to like post stuff every day. This isn't, like I said, trying to be like an influencer and you're trying to share every little aspect of your life. More like it's a good opportunity to maybe show event recaps. So some people will do that thing where like each round they'll just have an ongoing thread of like how each round went. Like I won the dice roll, here's what I faced, here's kind of how game 1 or game 2 or whatever went. That's something people can do. You can also do a recap after the event, so that way it kind of allows you to stay completely focused and zoned in while you're actually playing. But either one works. I also think that it's good to showcase anytime that you win an event. If you won at a sneak peek, if you won at a box tournament or a case tournament, you won a win-a-mat or a public event at a YCS, or of course if you just won the whole thing, either way, that should be a social media post. It's great because you're celebrating your success. That's not arrogant, that's not being overconfident or cocky. That's just showing that you're proud of the thing that you accomplished, and people tend to gravitate towards those posts and they like them. I do think a great way to get into the conversation of the game is to post your thoughts on the format. I know that on Twitter it can kind of be easy to get lost in the whole like, here's why Yu-Gi-Oh sucks right now, or here's something that's wrong, or we want the ban list or whatever. But I think that if you're a real competitive player and you just like thinking about the game and thinking about matchups and prep, you can actually prompt people to start talking about it and sort of move the discussion there. You can also make make posts that just share a picture of yourself when you're at an event, like before you start. You know, I'm at the sneak peek, I'm at this regional, it's day one at the YCS, here I am. Speaking of that, it's also really good to try to create a bit of a consistent look for yourself as a human being at Yu-Gi-Oh! Events. What I mean by this is maybe you have a sponsored team jersey, right? A lot of players have that at events, I see them now. That can sort of be your look. Like I'm always wearing the purple jersey or the green jersey for this particular team. But also, it could just be the outfit that you oftentimes wear, like a certain color scheme, a certain like jacket, hoodie, cap, whatever, that you just like that sort of look. That can actually be a thing. It makes you recognizable so people know like, oh, that's that guy. Like I've seen him on Twitter, I've seen her on Twitter. Push comes to shove, you can just buy branded Yu-Gi-Oh! Merchandise, officially licensed stuff, unofficially licensed stuff. Doesn't really matter. I've seen more and more shirts from like Hypeland and those other companies that make stuff. I see more and more people wearing those at events, so that's a pretty easy way to just sort of create an image around yourself. And if you're really ambitious, you can literally even just become your archetype or brand. We've all seen the Labyrinth player, that is Labyrinth incarnate. We've seen the sous chef chef. These things exist, and obviously that takes getting a little bit more performative and maybe getting into the cosplay realm, but you know, that's a thing that you can do. No matter what you choose to do though, just being recognizable and having that look probably gets you put into more feature matches, use you in more interviews. If that's the sort of thing that you like, it's a really good opportunity to increase your chances. Okay, next let's talk about YouTube. Like I said before, I'm not trying to create a bunch of people who all have like YouTube as a full-time career. I mean, that's great if you want to do that, but I think that it's just good as a competitive player to have a channel where you post something sometimes. If you manage to get a really big win with a deck that's sort of unexpected, that's a great time to take advantage of the attention and excitement around it. So if you are the player who won with Volcanic FTK, a deck people don't oftentimes see, then go on YouTube and like make that deck profile, make combo guides, do it quickly and capitalize on the attention that you get from that. If you ever happen to be featured in a Konami feature match, then doing a VOD review is a really great jumping off point because the content's kind of already there and you're just reviewing your game and how it went. Maybe you misplayed here, maybe this decision is what led to you winning the feature match. If you have a sort of personal playtesting circle or discussion circle, maybe you can all hop on Discord and do a group tier list. People like hearing that from players who actually sort of know what they're talking about. Oh yeah, and don't worry too much about like the quality of your video or so like editing and stuff like that. The goal at first is just to like have something out there. Your webcam works perfectly fine for doing a VOD review of a feature match that you had at the YCS. And similarly, your phone is absolutely fine for just showing a deck profile or showing a combo guide. One other thing in that regard, and I think this applies on social media too, is that you don't actually have to post super often. I think the best advice I can give is post when it feels relevant to you. When you're at an event, that's when you need to be posting on social media about it, or just after the event is when you want to be kind of posting your recaps, posting your deck profiles. If you find that you have the time to do more than that, that's good, but I know that all of the stuff that I'm discussing in this video is its own time commitment and its own sort of extra part-time job on top of things. So, you know, do it when it's convenient for you, do it when it feels most relevant, strike while the iron is hot. One last thing too is getting into educational content can be really good. I know that there's been a really big rise in MetaFi coaching. There are people who do coaching and class sessions and playtesting and stuff for people who follow them. Either way, I definitely recommend if you've got some accolades, hop on MetaFi and offer that for people. There are people who really want to get better at this game and just don't know how. And obviously this is a case where the better your resume of results is, like if you're a 4 or 5 times YCS winner, more people are going to want and value your coaching. But still, I think that there's no harm in trying and just sort of getting yourself out there. And as your results improve, then the sort of demand for your insights and your coaching or playtesting would also go up. And it should go without saying that if you do have a MetaFi class or a YouTube channel, these are all things that need to go back into your Twitter bio or on Instagram and things like that. It's all kind of just this big like circle where you need to make sure that everything links to everything and people can kind of see you in multiple places and know where to find you and all of that. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say for this video. I know it's a lot, but if I had to condense it, I would just say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very difficult game to play and doing well at it is something to be commended. As a result, I think that you should do the most for yourself and other players by creating a brand that celebrates your success. It can open up a lot of opportunities for you, both with Konami, with other games, with other accessories manufacturers, And it's also just kind of fun. Some disclaimers, this isn't for everyone. Some people prefer to be low key, and that's totally okay. You don't have to actually share all this stuff. It's not technically going to improve your event results. So I totally understand if not everybody wants to do it, but I thought that I would get it out there because there are some people who could really benefit. And yeah, so that's gonna be it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, anything that I maybe missed. And share this with other players that you think might benefit from hearing it. All right, I've gone on long enough, so I will see you guys in the next video. Pass turn.